Everyone's like, dislike before you say anything. I guarantee that's probably gonna be the most disliked video of y'all's. But.
And likes, honestly.
I think it'll be both. Yeah.
But yeah, now we're watching hip hop.
What's up, everybody?
Lover.
We gonna watch the hip hop lover.
Hip hop lover.
So I actually picked out a lyric video for you guys because I wanted you to read the lyrics first and then watch a live performance of them doing this song. The last time we met, I had you guys watch the debut video of when they were first like a hip hop group, and you guys were very much like floored by what you saw.
Yeah.
And a bit confused.
Very floored. You were like, "What is going on?" And I think like you and I have had conversations as far as like appropriation or just like what is expected or allowed, like what like. And one of the things that you talked about is like we just want, like credit or just like what's
So Joanne, I know you guys are looking at a little face of hers.
Hi.
There's Joanne. So Joanne is my roommate, one of my best friends in the world. She is Asian. She's Filipino.
I'm Filipino, but I grew up with a Chinese and Korean, Filipino, American family. Just all Asian, but all also very American.
Yeah.
Very American. I eat the food, can't speak the language, been to places. Yeah. But I know the culture pretty well-ish. Yeah.
I think that's how you grew up.
Yeah.
And then I am half black, half white, Nigerian and Irish to be specific.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I identify as a black woman, though. It's just kind of one of those things in the U.S. You're kind of forced to pick sides at times. It might be different nowadays, but when I was growing up, it was very like, you gotta pick one.
Everybody knows what I am. Just know. Yeah.
Sure. What are you?
Yeah.
Where are you?
Hello.
Where you from?
Hello.
What's that?
So anyways, you and I have had some interesting conversations about what is acceptable, what's uncomfortable, what is allowed.
Yeah, because it's really interesting being like becoming, I would say I'm definitely in the process of becoming like a K-pop fan as a black person, especially a from the U.S., because I feel like perspectives are different if you're from like the U.S. versus like the U.K. versus like Africa versus like Jamaica. Like there's all the different places. Have different perspectives. We're different peoples, even though we are similar skin tones. But yeah, we've had a lot of conversations talking about like appropriation. What is okay? What is not okay? Appropriation versus appreciation. What does that look like?
It's a very fine line.
Yeah, and I think it differs a lot of time depending on the person that you talk to. But initially, one of the main things we talked about, and one of the things that I think that has been the most frustrating for African Americans in the United States is cultural appropriation. It's happened a lot since like always, and so I think I'm like I'm wading in the waters here.
Yeah, I think. Like you said, it is about it kind of goes back to you're doing this because you can make money off it. Now the person that's in the hood is getting shot. They want to do this, but they don't have the same resources or but these people who are taking from these people who are living this actual life and profiting by the billions. And so that is basically, that's some of the frustration because you see it all the time. And it's like,
as an Asian American, I did not know this. So I just need you guys to know that
there's a lot.
There's a lot
of people that don't.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, and that's why these conversations are hard, but also good. But also, like, I think there's like where you're coming from and having to understand, but also like where I'm coming from as an Asian and why we respond the way that we do. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a lot of like
cultural misunderstandings that make a lot of sense once you understand the other culture
and just talk about it, and give space to listen and understand, and process. But anyways, this is a song I picked out for you guys. It's called Hip Hop Lover. It came out in I think the Dark and Wild album. So they had the 3 school ones, the hip hop ones, and then in this album, this song, they're actually talking about why they love hip hop. So that's why I picked this one.
Okay.
Dope.
Ready?
Let's go. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I want to make sure I'm recording. Okay, yeah, go for it.
Okay.
People wonder why we love this
I forgot it wasn't an actual
Let's
video.
get
I was like,
offensive. No.
Why we got so much
I can't hear you.
culture. Tell me.
It was a new world 평소에 그리 나시나 그저 길은 내게 심청이만한 건 다가와 내가 못 뜨던 새 눈을 뜨게 해 But people keep asking baby why you love that hip-hop shit 그럼 나는 말해 이유는 원래 없어 cause it's hip-hop 별거 없어 에픽한 남들처럼 Jay-Z Nas 클래식한 음악과 또 더블 스타일 In my mind don't care one don't ready to die Eminem과 The Chronic과 그 다음 명작 더 다스는 원 Gangsta Blackstar X.B. Rockin' P. Rockin' CL's moon This is deep poppin' 달고 살았어 아주 많이 그때 나 아주 많이 할 말이 많았어 남들이 해주는 얘기도 부족하다 느꼈지 일단은 억지 거지 덧치 발라 가사 합치고 썼지 That was it that was it 내가 된 시점 학습 지사의 백제 모두 아는 날 좀 시기 그리고 지웠어 비웠어 빛 위에서만큼은 난 자유로 7년 전이나 지금이나 똑같아 이게 캐나다
Sense of humor. That's an interesting one.
I feel like that's I feel like that's gotta be cultural.
I like translation.
에팍 몸무를 느끼며
Sugar,
부갈로
J-Hope.
킹타 올스쿨
J-Hope.
리듬타
I wasn't even looking at this.
의 람과 혈을 밀착 두
How
겹이
did you hear?
나타내 지금은 랩 댄스 교체 팝의 프로모델 다 듀퍼보이 에픽하이 서툰 나 이력 써서 무명계 무대어 fly 아무것도 모른 날 일으켰지 매일 내 맘을 홀린 아티스트 링 몸으로 비연만 했었던 비교와 투팍의 나스나도 하나같이 허월 내 세상을 만들기 전에 거월 그가 금요일 밤을 비출 때부터 더 영감을 받고 써가는 곡은 맥밀러 칸예 캐드릭 그들의 음악은 내 귀에 부딪혀 매우 미쳐 가게 태도를 잡아둔 내 삶의 최고의 뮤지션 끝없는 딕션 alright 내 본능이 골라 어떤 랩이든 어떤 춤이든 감각적인 내 교감 이제 내 삶 속의 공간은 힙합으로 녹아 오늘도 wild for the night 내 몸은 feel like it's a world
I know it's really interesting. I'm like throwing out these tracks.
힙합은 찾아왔어 살며시 어린아이가 엄마를 찾듯이 자연스럽게 내 삶에 스며들었지 그 당시에 초등학생뿐이었던 나 그제서야 꿈을 재단해 Wanna rap 남들과 비슷한 삶이 혐오했던 꼬맹이의 족감 조이의 모두가 붙잡고만 하더라도 내 안에서 자리를 고수하 힙합은 날 송두리 재뒤집 뻔나 그 어린 날 교과서 기퉁이에 적어내렸던 나 16 verse 덕분에 난 앉으면 산불에 치고 갔던 대구 남산동의 작업실에 날 던지고 밤새도록 갈았던 무딘 팬쪽에 날 노래 끝에 난 결국 학창시절에 받는 언수 왜 대신해서 빼곡히 채워갔던 라임 더비 dream come true 주위에서 다들 묻지 힙합이 뭐냐고 당당히 답을 하지 나의 전부라고 결과 내 인생 자체를 음악 안에 뼈 묻었어 이 문화를 사랑했으라면 난 곧 100번은 넘게도 죽었어
There's no way I could have watched the video and like,
All right. There you go. Uh-oh, stop.
What are your thoughts?
I don't. I'm still processing.
What year was
I
it?
am too.
Sorry.
2014
2014.
ish, around there.
Okay, they're really young.
they're really young.
Okay.
Which makes sense.
and
I
it
feel
sounds
like,
pretty young.
yeah. I mean, that's so many people's stories of like finding themselves, hearing their own story and like hip hop, which is really interesting. So you can have people in a completely different culture across the world who don't really even speak the language and be so affected by hip hop and like Black culture. It's just really, it's really cool, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, hello. It's the biggest genre in the world. So if you don't do hip hop, you're probably a dummy if you're doing music. So that's kind of like you got to.
And there's Shiza.
Yeah. I mean,
dummy.
I mean, if you're gonna be this massive band, like hip hop is somewhere in what you're doing, typically, especially now today. So I know, I feel like that definitely like plays a role. Like they know that it's popular and they know that that's something that is gonna obviously help them in what they do. I feel like I need to learn more about them as individuals and how they grew up and like really understand like how hip hop. I mean, the song is cool. Like I'm glad that they call out the names and things like that. I'm wondering, like, is it really, like, what really brought them to it? Like, I want to know more about what is really the depth of, like, how did they find hip hop? Like, is it really something that they really, really identify with in their, like, childhood? Like, I'm just wondering, like, what's the real story behind, like, the more detailed story behind each of them and how it really, like, came about? And that's what I'm thinking. But I think it's good to at least acknowledge, because that's definitely something that, even Eminem knows. When Eminem first came out, he was not liked because he was a white guy doing rap, but he was the best rapper ever.
He definitely was a pioneer.
I mean, he's not the best rapper ever, but I love, he's phenomenal.
He's phenomenal. His wordplay and like how quick he is from things, it's insane.
He's great, and he acknowledged it. I mean, Dr. Dre put him on, so it's like he obviously got the people backed him up because they knew what he was really about. He was really, Eminem's life. He grew up horrible. Like, his life is horrible. How he grew up his childhood, and he's still dealing with the demons from his childhood, from what we know.
But that raises a question: does your life need to be horrible to like live and love and appreciate hip hop?
No.
That's my opinion. That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, I don't think your life.
The way that you were saying it kind of sounded like you think that that might need that is a requirement.
Okay, yeah, like I'm not saying that, but it's just like, he came up. I mean, that the root of hip hop is that. That's how it started. It started out as, when you talk about why it is even a thing, it was because people were getting killed and there was
I disagree with that.
No, it is. It's just that
is the root. That is why hip hop exists. That's where it came out of. But it's evolved over so many forms out of so long.
I love hip hop. I listen. That's my thing. I disagree. Well,
let's
talk
about it.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
That's all we
So yeah, I guess that's some of what I believe. That's where my head is right now.
I definitely appreciate because when Joe and I were talking before, one of the things that I pointed out is like a lot of times all it just takes is like acknowledgement. A lot of times things are taken from Black culture and there's no acknowledgement or love shown back to Black culture. And that's for me, I can't speak on behalf of all Black people, especially, also I'm only half Black, I'll say that right now. Sisters, don't come for me in the comments. But like, from my perspective, like, you don't even know, man, like, YouTube be crazy sometimes. But like, for me, personally, like, I think the biggest thing, like it's hard to be like, you can't do this because it's Black culture, when it's so cool, like, something that came out of like our blood, our sweat, our tears. Watched that video earlier, and it came from a hard place. But to see where it's come and to see how it just swept the world. Like, I feel so much pride as a Black woman to see that. And so it's hard to be like, well, you can't do this and you can't do that, when people are going to do it anyways because it's so popular. Like, it's just,
that's what
so the reality is, it's like, okay, you're going to do your thing. Just give love, show credit to where it came from, you know? And I think they kind of did this. And I think that's one of the biggest things. Even BTS, like, BTS does not get a pass from me at all for culture appropriation. We had conversations about this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they do not get a pass. However, there are things to take into consideration culturally and with their age at whatever the time was. But I think I was pleasantly surprised at the acknowledgement in the song and just the genuine place that I felt like the song was coming from. They weren't trying to be hard. They weren't trying to be something they're not. They're just saying, we were kids in school, we listened to hip-hop, and this is how it affected our lives. It changed our lives. Utterly and completely changed our lives, and this is how. And these are the artists that did it. And I really respect that, and I dug it. Those are my thoughts.
Dope.
Yeah, and I feel like for me too, like I guess I'm like reading the lyrics while listening and things like that too. Like I would want to listen and probably listen again and at least pay attention to what they're saying more so in the rhythm and just catching everything that they're saying. Yeah, I don't know. Because I like when you said about they grew up in school and this is why like I miss that part.
Yeah, they're talking about being in school and like not being able to focus on school instead of writing out like 16-bar verses and like, you know, things like that. Growing up, like dealing with things and busting out their pen and being inspired to write by these artists that they named and they just love it.
Yeah.
They're just like, we just love it. It like one of the lines was like they found themselves in hip hop. I feel like it's very common as young people, like, which is why music is so popular with young people, because we all, especially, it's like literally impossible to grow up without some type of childhood trauma. Like, it's just the world we live in and what we're exposed to. There's different levels of trauma. But as young people, like, we often find ourselves in the arts, which I think is why the arts are so popular with young people. Music, like, we don't feel understood, we don't feel seen, we don't feel heard. But this artist is saying literally everything that I'm feeling right now. And when I listen to this artist, I feel seen, I feel heard, I feel understood, and I feel like a person. You know what I mean? At least that's kind of how it was for me and a lot of people that I've talked to growing up.
You don't think? I mean, I agree with that, but I also think that it's like, I don't know. I don't think it's even maybe that deep. I think it's just like, it's fucking cool. Eminem's cool.
It's both, I think.
You know, it's like fucking, I want to drive around in a cool car and be with chicks. Like, I think that's okay too. Like,
I agree.
I think, you know, and it's like, that's popular culture. It's like, and then you throw in sports and NBA and clothing and, you know, trendsetters. It's like, I mean, I feel that's the biggest thing that I feel, you know, you go to any country. I was in Turkey and I was wearing the NWA hat and people were like, dude, you know, they were saying the N-word to me, but it's like, I love with attitude, you know, and it's like, but they don't know any better. They're not like, they don't mean it. Like, it's like, they're genuine. Like, it's like, this is in like Turkey.
Mm-hmm.
And that's insane. That is insane. But it's like, they don't understand that in order for that to have been created, yeah, that in itself came from a very vicious and hard place.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, you know, and that's what spawned Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, and then Dr. Dre spawned Eminem, and it's like, you know, but I don't know. I mean, it's just cool. It's cool, and when you're young, you want to like things that are cool, and it's like what's trendy, and it's like, I don't know. I feel like too hard on people sometimes, where it's like, oh, if you like hip hop or you gotta really show, and that's like, I get it, but again, you know, it's like, it's out, it's art. Like, you can't, someone can't just selfishly come and be like, you can't. And then if it starts to influence people, then yeah, I mean, now if you have Koreans that are like rapping better than someone over here,
That's true. I done heard some music.
That's just
songs
kind of
I'm like,
it, you know. It's like,
okay, I see you, Korea.
yeah, and it's like because at the end of the day, it's still a skill,
Mm.
and it's like if you craft it, and God knows it, you know, the Asian community is known for just like we're gonna work at this until we perfect it.
Excellence.
And it's like, how could they not, you know? And it's
Yeah.
like, you can't. But then that'll just create a different thing, you know? It's like, yeah, I think it's cool, whatever. I didn't need an explanation for them to explain that they owe something to, like, I don't know. I understand the cultural appropriation claims that people have, but that's just it, you know. It's like this is the culture, and people really like it, and this is what we export as a country now. It's like the influence of
Entertainment.
of that, you know. But you can't expect people to really understand, you know, like where it came from and how it's like.
I think.
I wish they did.
Okay, so for the average listener, I say no. But for people who are actually going into the industry and seeking like a career in that world, I say yes. Like it's very important to know like if you're going to go into hip hop, it's very important to know the roots of hip hop. It's very important to know where that came from, especially since it's not your culture. Like so, say I wanted to become a K-pop idol.
But I guess that's what I'm saying
know.
now. It's just like you say culture, because culture now has become theirs as well. Do you know what I mean? Like you can't.
I just think you should be well versed in whatever you're doing. You know, it's like
I
it
agree.
doesn't really matter your race, but if you're a musician, you should know the history of where the shit come from, and it just happens to be black people.
Yeah.
You know,
but you don't think that just happens naturally though? It's like
No,
for
it
anyone
doesn't.
that's good.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
There's people who are just okay. This is popular now. I want to make money. I have a lot of money to do it, and I'm gonna just make $1 million doing this because I know I can because I have a sponsor.
That's exploitation.
Yeah.
I mean, look at okay, so here's an example that I want to get your guys' thoughts on. So let's talk about Mac Miller versus Iggy Azalea. Mac Miller is very loved and accepted in the hip hop community. Iggy Azalea is not.
She's
Yeah,
just
but one's
blatantly
really, really good. That's what I'm saying. It's just like, why worry so much? Why be so critical of someone that it's so obvious that you're a fad. Like you're just gonna go away in itself. Like who cares? Whatever. Like
like I said,
you know what I mean? It's like who cares?
I just feel like
was
you need to. You don't need to be. You don't have to explain, but when you realize this music does impact people in a very strong way. And if you're going to use it and make money off of it, you just need to be aware of how this music really affects a certain culture.
Yeah, but
I also feel like there has to be grace for the people who live in a different country who don't know the history of a different country. And so, like, coming in and being like, oh, we really like this thing that's happening over there. They're influencing us, and we're creating art from it. But at the same time, there's no grace for stuff that they have no idea about. And it's like, we don't know the history of Korea. We don't know the history of other countries out there. How are we supposed to know about what offends them or about what we take from them? Like you told me like this thing as far as like you have kimonos in your closet. Is that appropriation as far as like, or you just wear it because you think it's cool? But what is the history behind that? Like I feel like there's all these like gaps, but there's like appreciation, but also like no one's researching it.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's on both sides. And like the thing that Elena and I have both talked about is like your natural stance is to get angry, and Asians' natural stance is to be quiet and put our head down. And when that happens, it's just no one's talking and reconciling. And so there's no grace there. But I think as Americans and people in our generation, there just needs to be a conversation and being like, hey, I hear you. I want to, give credit where credit is due. Please have a little bit of grace for me. I'm still learning.
I think
you
that's
know?
I think that's a young thing.
I
I'd say
Yeah.
that more than anything. I think young people,
The
tend
new
to
generation.
just point at things and it's like, yeah, I mean, because I can say that all day about sarapes or anything that
Yeah.
like people are just like, oh, dude, your culture. It's just like
But do you know
naturally,
anything?
like people gravitate towards more colorful things, and it's just like, dude, if I went to your house and you had a sarape, I wouldn't be like, yo, Joe, what the fuck, man? That's my fucking culture. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, no.
and a lot of
Take it
people do
off.
though, but a lot of people, look at things like that. Where it's
Yeah.
like, because what was I gonna rebuttal your argument with is like, and we both talked about this. There's a bunch of black rappers that are fucking horrible,
That's what I was just about to say.
and it's like,
No, what I was gonna say is when I hear someone rapping that's good, I don't think about appropriation.
Mhm.
I'm talking about only time I think about that stuff is when I'm not interested and I'm not impressed.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking about that now. It's like when Eminem came out, I didn't give a fuck what color he was.
Yeah.
Sorry, excuse my language, y'all. But it's like he's so good. Like, and then when I talked about him going through something so horrible, I meant that in the sense of when he's rapping, this is from his soul.
Yeah.
This is from his spirit. Like, it's so deep and real. Like, he's hurting and you hear it. This is so good. Like, this is art. And I guess in this song, I just feel like they're pandering. They feel like they need to tell us thank you because they don't feel like they're that great. Or they shouldn't be doing it. And it's like, well, if you're good, just be good.
I think at this point in time, they've had 3 albums out there and a lot of hate. So I think they're just trying to explain themselves.
Mm-hmm.
If you took, like, literally Suga's, like, 2 mixtapes and listen to his albums, listen to the songs, read the lyrics, you'll see where he comes from and why he writes the things that he writes.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll have, like, a revelation of being like, oh, he's gone through it. And then you'll have respect based on his story, you know. And
So we're not there yet because
We're not there
learning,
yet.
We're still
No, I know,
Yeah.
but that's the thing. It's just like that. To go back to what I had said earlier in the past video, it's just like it doesn't matter. It's like if you are going down this route, you know what I mean. It's like Eminem at 2 EPs in probably was not as good as what we heard with what he did with Dre. You know what I mean? In the sense of like there's still growth there, and it's like you shouldn't be It's like, okay, at the end of the day, if that rap, I don't think it's not the best rap. It's just whatever. It's watered down, whatever. For me, it's fine. It's like, but I'm also not gonna have this reaction of like, dude, they're not. They don't mean that. It's just like they're kids. They're kids trying to rap, and it's fine.
Just,
whatever. Who cares?
That's
It's
it.
like, like it's okay. I don't think it's like, oh, they're not allowed because they're not good and they're not seen from the soul. It's like in there,
It's
they
their story.
probably are.
Like, that's for me.
Yeah.
I just want to hear your story. I want to hear where you're coming from. I don't want to hear you telling somebody else's story. And for me, I genuinely enjoyed that because it was just at the age they were at, they were just talking about their experience as kids and what inspired them and influenced them. And I think that's beautiful. I think that's just as beautiful as me writing a song about my childhood trauma and the shit that I've been through. You know what I mean? Like, I think at the end of the day, it's about the story. And if you're being honest and genuine about your story and your experience, that, for me personally, that's all I care about. And that's really the heart of hip-hop. It's about telling your story, your experience. And it gave an avenue for black people, voiceless black people, to tell their story and experience, and it blew up. You know, and so even if it's not based in the heartache and the pain that hip-hop came out of, as long as you're staying true to yourself and true to your story, like, they're not trying to be anything else here other than, they said it, we're students who found ourselves in hip-hop. That is a beautiful story that I have a lot of respect for as a musician. Like, you come out and you say your piece, I got respect for that.
I didn't know
That's
say
just me,
song.
personally.
It's a whatever song.
how are you doing on time? Because I want to respect your time.
Oh, show.
No,
See
it's
where
over.
she at.
Because there was just one song that I specifically wanted, like...
We can... You want to listen to it?
Yeah,
Let's
so we
do
could,
it.
like, skip the live video for this,
Okay.
and then go straight to the video
Let's
that
do
I'm
it.
talking about, if that's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's do
yeah.
it.
So you guys could go ahead and wrap this up, and then we'll just start with the next one.
Cool.
This was our TED Talk.
Thank you for attending our TED Talk today.
I thought it was fine. This song was okay. It's, it's probably my least favorite from them, but, it's like, whatever. It's okay. I'm not looking too deep into it. If they felt like they wanted to explain, well, whatever. Good for them. It's got 50 billion views or whatever, so they're fine.
They ain't worried about what we
They
think.
ain't worried.
I genuinely enjoyed it. I just thought it was an honest, like, sharing of their experience and why they like hip hop. Literally, the title of the song is very literal, and I have respect for that. Was it the deepest song that they've done? No, obviously not.
We haven't gone to
Was
the
this
deep stuff.
the stuff that makes me like cry and think about and analyze my life and my existence? No, but it is a song that I just genuinely enjoyed hearing about their experience and learning a little bit more about them, their lives, and why they like hip hop.
This was a snooze fest for me.
Yeah. Everyone knows. Yeah, it was whatever to me. But hey, do you, boo? Like you said, they got 50 billion. They good.
Yeah.
So
they're
do
fine.
you? They doing them. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
Do we, this is like.
Oh yeah, this is our outro. Okay,
Yeah,
guys.
like, subscribe, comment.
Okay.
Oh, I'm curious to hear these comments.